Welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful tool in the world of health benefits. It's called ICHRA. Now, it promises a ton of flexibility and control, but there's a huge catch that most people miss. See, selling an ICHRA is pretty easy. Actually running one, that is incredibly complex. So we're going to break down the critical difference between a broker who just talks about the tool and one who can actually make it work for you. And believe me, getting this right is everything.
You know, this quote just nails the problem we're talking about today. It's one thing to say, hey, we want to use this cool new thing. It's a completely different ballgame to have the systems and the discipline in place to use it correctly. Anybody can have good intentions. It's the preparation that really separates the winners from the ones who are heading for a disaster.
To really get a handle on this, let's actually take a step back in time and look at a different tech revolution. It's a story about locomotives, about risk, and about the hidden danger of simply not being prepared.
So, picture this. It's the early days of American railroads. The barrier to entry was surprisingly low. If you had the money, you could literally go out and buy a train. The technology was right there for the taking, and this idea of connecting the country was just incredibly exciting.
And right here, this is where the story gets really interesting. Owning the machine, that wasn't the hard part. The real challenge, the thing that separated the pros from the amateurs, was mastering the incredibly complex operations needed to run an entire rail network safely and reliably, day in and day out.
So what you saw were basically two very different mindsets emerging. On one side, you had the gamblers. All they cared about was speed, rapid growth, and expansion, and they often just ignored the nitty-gritty operational details. But on the other side, you had the builders. These were the folks investing in the boring but critical stuff, signaling systems, maintenance routines, and properly trained operators. They weren't just building for tomorrow, they were building for decades.
And here's the crazy part. For a while, if you were just a passenger, these two types of railroads looked exactly the same. The difference was completely invisible, until suddenly it wasn't. The railroads that survived, the ones that actually thrived, they weren't the ones that grew the fastest. They were the ones who had built a rock-solid foundation of operational discipline long before things got real.
So what on earth does a 19th century railroad have to do with your health benefits? Well, the ICHRA is today's locomotive. It represents a massive shift in how things are done. And just like with the railroad, getting access to it is the easy part. It's the readiness that's going to decide who actually lasts. So what exactly is this modern locomotive? Well, ICHRA stands for Individual Coverage Health Reimbursement Arrangement. Basically, instead of the old one-size-fits-all group plan, employers give their people tax-free money to go shop for their own insurance on the individual market. It's a huge move from a defined benefit to a defined contribution. It gives employees a ton of choice. But, and this is a big but, it also opens up a whole new world of complex IRS and ACA compliance rules.
And this brings us right to the heart of the problem today, what we call the Readiness Gap. A lot of brokers have the intention of offering ICHRs, but very, very few are actually prepared to run one the right way. And that's where the real danger is hiding. The difference in approach here is, well, it's night and day. An unprepared broker is trying to manage all this complexity with spreadsheets and manual emails. It is a total recipe for disaster. A prepared broker, on the other hand, is using a modern third-party administrator, a TPA, with automated systems and workflows that are built from the ground up with compliance in mind. It's a real system, built for success. And when that readiness is missing, the consequences are severe. We're talking about failed affordability tests that can trigger massive IRS penalties. We're talking about confused, frustrated employees who have no idea how to navigate this new system. And ultimately, that means huge financial exposure and some serious damage to your company's reputation.
Okay, so if the risks are that high, what is the single most important thing for success? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. It's not what most people think it is.
Here it is. This is the crucial point. Success with an ICHRA isn't really about picking the perfect insurance plans. It's about the administrative engine, the operating system that's running everything in the background. See, an ICHR doesn't fail because the model is bad. It fails when all that complexity is managed with spreadsheets and good intentions instead of a real automated system designed for the job.
So how can you tell if your broker is one of the builders or one of the gamblers? Well, here's a 5-point readiness test you can use. Think of this as your personal toolkit for verifying that they're ready, not just assuming it.
These 5 questions cut right to the chase. First, regulatory fluency. Can they explain complicated rules like affordability safe harbors in plain English? This proves your plan is legit. Second,
Infrastructure. Ask them to show you the platform. Is it real software or just a PowerPoint deck? Third, the employee experience. How are they going to guide your people through this new process without total confusion? Fourth, automation. Are those critical compliance tasks, like sending notices and checking documents, automated to prevent human error? And finally, number 5, governance. After the sales pitch is over, who is actually responsible for keeping you compliant? That last one, that one is absolutely crucial.
And let me be perfectly clear about this. This isn't a checklist where getting 4 out of 5 is good enough. Not at all. True readiness requires all 5 of these. Missing even one of these pillars introduces a silent, ticking risk right into the heart of your organization.
All right, let's make this even more practical. What can you do, say, tomorrow to really put your broker to the test?
Here are 4 simple ways to pressure test their readiness. First, ask for a live demo of their affordability testing tool. If they can't show you, they can't do it. Simple as that. Second, ask for sample compliance notices. This is going to reveal a lot about their attention to detail. Third, tell them you want to review the entire employee communication journey, from start to finish, not just the glossy sales deck. And finally, get their TPA partnership and any service guarantees in writing. Vague promises are worthless in an audit. These simple steps will separate the truly prepared from the pretenders really fast. Which leaves us with one final, big question for you to think about. When you look at your benefit strategy and the advisor who's guiding you, ask yourself this. Are they helping you build a safe, scalable, long-lasting railroad, or are they just trying to sell you a shiny new locomotive, leaving you all alone to figure out how to lay the track and run the thing? The answer to that question will determine everything.